Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Armor Cokes?
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pub cup. Really? This is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live?
Radio station. The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to WQVZ, 1700 AM Mission Radio.
For me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Your home for Braves Country Radio. YouTube.com/@Braves Country. Good morning, y'all. We're doing this. I'm actually recording this right after the game from Sunday night. I got some things I want to take care of on Monday, so we're doing a quick drop. So this won't be a long show, but we do want to bring you Armchair Quarterbacks today, where we go over baseball, we go over football. Now, when the baseball season ends, Major League Baseball today, MLB today, and Braves Country today, they will both be over on Braves Country Radio. The Armchair Quarterback shows are staying right here on Armchair QB Radio. And so that's what we have going on with that. You might see them on simulcast, but that's so that a few of the radio stations that are carrying us can grab the link. But there you have it. Okay, so Major League Baseball, real quick, we'll go over game one last night of the ALCS as Seattle took a 1-0 lead, and it really was all about Bryce Miller. Now, look, we don't want to overlook the fact that you got the big home run from Cal Raleigh, big spot. I mean, you talk about a guy earning an MVP, and I get it. The voting happens before the postseason ever starts. But this guy has been big in every single moment this year. And he continues to do it in the postseason and gets a big home run, ties the game up, a 420-foot blast into right center field, and that tied the game up. Of course, George Springer got the one lone run for the Blue Jays. You know, they start the game off with the solo shot, and you think, holy hell, they're about like the whole roof's about to cave in. This place is going bananas. And then they don't do anything else the rest of the way. The rest of the game, after that solo shot, Toronto had one hit. And makes you think of Major League, right? One lousy hit. That was it. And so they'll go back to the drawing board. That base hit took place in the second inning. So from the second inning on, no base hits for Toronto. Now, they did walk, Bryce Miller did walk 3 total batters, but he walked 2 in the first inning after the home run. So 1 hit and 1 walk after the first inning. And so you look at that and you wonder, well, what the hell happened? Maybe the bats were a little cold. Maybe there's a thing as too much rust, a little rust. I'm not worried about Toronto. I think they're going to make this a series. I think it's going to be a great series. Been looking forward to what I figured would be the series all along. Now, Detroit pushed Seattle to the limit. We brought that game to you as well on Friday night, 15 innings. Oof. But I still felt like that the better overall team won. And Detroit surprised the hell out of me because they played so poorly down the stretch and then found a way to bounce back against Cleveland. I don't know if they get past the first round if they're not playing a divisional opponent that they're very familiar with. Detroit just cratered, especially offensively, and Seattle ends up moving on against the Tigers. I mean, when you've got Tarek Skubal and you're not getting him any runs, I'm sure they're going to address it in the offseason, and that'll be a big thing with the Tigers in the offseason, trying to get some more offense. But we move on to this series, and this series, I just think it's going to be a fun series. I think you got strength against strength. You've got an incredible Toronto offense against one of the better pitching staffs in all Major League Baseball, top to bottom. And Bryce Miller's not even one of their top dogs, and he shoved. And then as far as on the other side of it, Toronto's got a pretty good pitching staff. In Seattle, after the trades, they rebuilt their offense. And look, you've got a team that when you go through that lineup, there's really not big holes in the lineup like there used to be with Seattle. When you go from Arozarena to Cal Raleigh, then you got Julio and Polanco, Naylor, Suarez. Even the bottom of the order for the Mariners is still pretty darn good for a bottom of the order in Major League Baseball. So I think that's going to be a really good series. And game 2 is tonight. We'll bring it to you pitch by pitch, play by play. I think I was misspeaking. I think I was telling everybody all this time that it was 5:08, but it's actually 5:03 and 8:08. So 5:03 and 8:08 still doesn't give us enough time. I mean, 3 hours and 5 minutes in between first pitches. There's going to be an overlap, but we're going to bring you both games. As soon as game 2 ends of the ALCS, we're going to jump to game 1 of the NLCS. We'll go from one link to the other link. Both of them are already up here on Braves Country Radio. Dodgers and Brewers get going tonight. That should be a fun one. Blake Snell's on the mound for the Dodgers. As of right now, they have not announced the Brewers pitcher. They did announce that Logan Gilbert will pitch in game 2 for Seattle. He's going to go up against Yesavage, Savage, whatever you want to call him, for 4 different. I mean, I like the Ye Savage the best, but I've heard 4 different pronunciations. But he will take the bump, and remember, he had a no-hitter going the last time we saw him. So we'll see what he's got for Seattle. I kind of expect another pitcher's duel tonight. Honest engine. If you're looking at the lines, I'd be banging the unders on just about everything. The pitching, once again, in the postseason is the premium. So that's game 1 and game 2 tonight. Doubleheader. We'll bring it to you. And then just to lay out the schedule, Tuesday night, 8:08, Dodgers Brewers, game 2 of the NLCS. Wednesday, Dodgers Brewers will take the day off as they travel to LA, and we'll bring you Blue Jays Mariners. So Tuesday and Wednesday, just one game, 8:08 both times. Thursday, it looks like we're doing, well, this is interesting and incredibly stupid. If this is right, they are basically they're shingling them over each other. Brewers and Dodgers at 6:08. Mariners and Blue Jays at 8:33. So that's incredibly stupid, because how is the fan supposed to lock in and consume both ball games when one game is probably going to be in the 8th inning, 7th inning, best case scenario, 7th inning. So whatever the hell that's about. Friday night, more of the same. Looks like they're shingling each other. 2.5 hours in between. So Major League Baseball doesn't know what the hell they're doing, and they should be setting the times and not leaving it up to the dopey broadcast teams. Saturday is an 8:00 game. Sunday is an 8:00 game. So those are solo shots. We'll bring those to you as well. And then Monday, if necessary, you got a doubleheader. They go back to 5:08 and 8:08. Like, what the hell? Get it together at MLB. And then Tuesday of next week, it's a solo game, and that would bring it to the end. So everything should be squared away, assuming weather, by a week from tomorrow, a week from Tuesday, October 21st. And then the World Series gets going that Friday. And it'll be 2 days on, 1 day off, 3 days on, 1 day off, and Friday, Saturday, off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That's all if necessary. So there we have that. And we get into the world of, by the way, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Milwaukee. They just assume and put the have beaten the Dodgers 6 games to nothing in the regular season. Put that aside. It has nothing to do with the regulars. In fact, I think it hurts Milwaukee. I think it would have been better if they had split the series or at least had 1 or 2 losses, just because that becomes a narrative. But if they do grab game number 1, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the Dodgers because they'll start hearing it from the media. What? You can't beat the Brewers? You know how that goes. All right, let's go into the world of football, and we're going to give you our top 12 in our what we call the Cool 12 for Michael Cool, and our power rankings for the NFL. Don't do a long one on this. We're going to get to running and rocking and rolling and off and running. So here we go. I'm going to compare them to the AP top 25 in college football. We'll do college football first and the NFL next. AP top 25. I'm going to give you 1 through 15 so you just know where everything's at. AP top 25, 1 through 15. It's Ohio State, Miami, Indiana. Those are the only 3 teams that got number 1 votes, all undefeated. Texas A&M is 4 and Ole Miss is 5. 6 through 10, it's Alabama, and Texas Tech, Oregon, Georgia. And 10 through 15, it's LSU, Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma. And I see it much differently, mainly because I don't feel the need to vote for this team or that team just because I write for X paper in Y state. And that's why these votes end up the way they do. It just does. It always ends up this way. So, with all that being said, we'll put them in the chat as we go along, but our top 12 is based on, for people who haven't caught the show before, I have a very easy base system on this. And that is, if I am going to vote for a team, put a team in the top 12, even top 15, though we always do 12 for obvious reasons. But if I'm going to put a team there, I'm telling you right now, there's no way on God's green earth that I'm just going to go out and say, well, because they were here last week, I've got to put them there this week. I don't do that with the NFL, and I don't do it with college football. So take that into consideration when you're seeing these, and I always go bottom from as opposed to top to bottom, 1 through 12, we go 12 to 1. So first and foremost, number 12, you have to rank, if you're doing it right, you have to rank the guys in these, you have to rank them on, and I guess it won't let me do it in the chat the way I thought it would on when I'm recording. So I'll just have to tell you what they are. I thought I was going to display them on the screen. So what I'm probably going to do next week is if I have to do this, I'm going to record it and then drop it live the next morning. So anyways, number 12, I'm going to go with the number 12 team has got to be who is going to make the postseason out of the group of 4. Now, Notre Dame can be in that conversation, but I'm talking about what I'm always going to put at that number 12 spot is someone like Memphis. I'm putting Memphis there. They're undefeated. They're currently ranked number 22 in the AP poll, but right now they've got the inside track. Now, South Florida's has an argument, but Memphis is undefeated, so that's who I'm going with. South Florida's got a better resume, but we also saw South Florida get dragged by Miami, and I can't not forget that. Until something happens with Memphis, right now it's I have them over South Florida. That'll all get worked out in the wash, but South Florida's right on their heels. Georgia Bulldogs, I'm putting at number 11. Look, they got a tough win at Auburn. Auburn's a tough place to win. Not taking that against them, but they haven't looked incredibly. They've looked very beatable. Their one loss was against Alabama. Remember, we saw Alabama lose to Florida State. Not just lose, they got their lunch handed to them. And Florida State is terrible. But they were able to manhandle Alabama, push them up and down the field. And so I'm not convinced that Georgia and Alabama are all that great. Now, I do believe that Alabama is getting better week by week. If you find a way to get a W, and they definitely have a much better quarterback than Florida State does. If they play right now, they probably beat Florida State. But it's hard for me to say that because they literally got their teeth kicked in. So I'm going Georgia 11, Alabama 10, and then we start talking about the real contenders. Because right now, Alabama, Georgia, Memphis to me are pretenders. If Alabama keeps going, they keep moving, fair enough. If Georgia keeps moving, fair enough. But right now, you got to look at them as pretenders, even though they're ranked incredibly too high in the AP poll. Oregon is number 9. They lost a tough game to a very good Indiana team. I told everyone on Thursday's show that Indiana was no joke. Indiana went in there. I really didn't expect them to necessarily win that game, but I did expect them to cover, and they did. And if it wasn't for a pick 6, Oregon practically gets blown out in their own building. But Oregon has looked good outside of that, and I do think they'll bounce back. Now we get into the undefeateds. Because at this point, we're 6-7 games into the season. If you're undefeated, as long as you haven't just played a bunch of mollywops, then I'm going to put you ahead of the teams with one loss. So number 8 team is BYU, Brigham Young University. Everybody's sleeping on them, and I get it. I know why. They're sleeping on them because they play out west, and most people are in Snoozeville when the game finishes. But they had a hell of a rally the other night and won a game at Arizona, and they continue to be undefeated. They win in double overtime, 33-27, and so there you have that. The next team on the docket, give me the Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss stumbled a little bit. They really did. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you can't be very proud of what you saw on the field on Saturday, but they found a way to get the win, and that's not nothing. I don't think Washington State's a very good team. I think Ole Miss was kind of reading their own headlines, kind of smelling themselves, and thought they didn't really have to come out with the best effort. And when you get an early game and you get those situations, a lot of times you're going to get a problem, and that's what they almost stumbled into a loss. And then the number 6 team, nobody's talking about them. Nobody's talking about them. Nobody's looking at them. Everyone's like, they're undefeated, but who have they played? The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets have won at Colorado, who just had a big win this weekend. They beat Clemson, and I get it. Nobody respects Clemson at this point, but they're still Clemson. They got a hell of a roster. They soundly beat Virginia Tech, which is what you're supposed to do. We're going to find out this weekend that they're at Duke. I think that's going to be a really good game, a really fun game. But they're going to get tested down the stretch. They play Syracuse and then go to NC State, and NC State's going to be a tough environment. They're not a great team, but they're a tough environment and well coached. The roster's just not up to par. They still have to play Pittsburgh, and that is in Atlanta, but that Pittsburgh quarterback, if you've not watched that kid play, they put up some numbers. They're going to lose some games, and they're going to win some games. And that game against Florida State, that was not a fluke. That kid can absolutely sling it. And he's a much better quarterback than what is sitting in Tallahassee right now. That kid is an absolute disaster. And if we don't see something different on the Florida State front at quarterback this week, I'm going to have a major problem with it. Because I don't want to hear about how good he is and how great he was against Alabama. That was a very dominant performance. But evidently, Alabama's defense isn't that damn good. So Everybody else has figured him out. And the easiest way to beat Castellanos in Florida State is to make him throw. And if you shut down running lanes, he is a glorified running back with a strong arm. That's all he is. It's all he's ever been. But I was under the impression when he came in and Malzahn took over and you got that Malzahn offense, Malzahn's very good offensive coordinator, and he finds ways to put people in motion. But he just can't do anything with Castellanos. I do think Castellanos is a little banged up, but that's not the reason. Castellanos, it's time to move on and go to a younger kids and see what they can do for the rest of the year. Don't pull the same crap you pulled last year where DJU was out there kicking the ball around and playing with his food and his daddy coming in complaining. Number 5, Texas Tech. Give me the Texas Tech. Look, Texas Tech, they are extremely underrated. Nobody's talking about them. Texas Tech this week, they are at Arizona State. That should be a pretty good matchup. And Texas Tech is, see, who do they have left? They have Kansas State, BYU. That's going to be a good one. UCF and West Virginia. Texas Tech's going to the Big 12 championship. And if they don't absorb a loss down the stretch and get to the Big 10 title game undefeated, Texas Tech's going to the playoffs. Texas Tech, they did a complete overhaul, and I'm impressed. Texas A&M is my number 4 team. They eventually, look, they struggled a little bit. They struggled a little bit against Florida. But when it's all said and done, they hung 34 points on Florida's defense. It's supposed to be vaulted. Everyone talking about the Florida defense. They got absolutely just manhandled. And they are the real deal. Texas A&M is going to be a problem for everybody. Miami's my number 3 team. They slid a little bit. That happens when you're not doing anything. But they're still right in the conversation. I was so tempted to put Indiana number 1, but they're number 2. What is Ohio? I've seen a few people put Indiana number 1. What has Ohio State done that has not impressed you? Ohio State is the best team in the country, but Indiana is not far behind. And Ohio State and Indiana, they are the cream of the crop. For whatever reason, they don't face each other this year in the Big 10. That looks like a head-on collision for the Big 12 championship. And Oregon's going to make it too. Those 3 are almost virtual locks to get to the playoffs. I believe that the Big 10 and SEC are both getting 4 teams in. You're going to get the wild card. And the wild card, a USF possibly. It could be Notre Dame if they run the table. We'll see what happens. And then you're going to get a 5th. It could come from the Big 10. It could come from the SEC, or it could be a secondary team from the Big 12. So keep an eye on that. So that's your top 10 or top 12. Like I said, next week I'm going to do it a different way. If I have to do it this way and we can't do it live, I'm going to drop it and we'll be able to put them on the screen. So I do apologize. I'd forgotten that you can't do that when you're recording like this. The next thing, NFL. Real quick, we won't take up all your time on this, but we do a power. I call it the top 4 in the NFC, top 4 in the AFC, and then the power 5 all together in the NFL. Number 4 in the AFC. And look, it's bottled up in both. It really is. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that these were easy picks. But right now, my number 4 team is the Los Angeles Chargers, because they're 4-2, and even though they've looked a little suspect since beating Kansas City at the beginning of the season, they're still 4-2 in leading their division, and that's not nothing. My number 3 team is probably going to sound contradictory, but I think the Kansas City Chiefs are putting it together, and they're my number 3 team. If the playoffs started today, I'd have them at number 1 in the AFC, because I've got to see Buffalo beat Kansas City in the playoffs before I think that they're better than them. Baltimore is cooked. By the time they get Lamar Jackson back, I don't see how they're going to be able to even halfway fight their way to the postseason. And for you fantasy managers, if you're thinking about this, you get further down in it, and we're talking about in the fantasy football playoffs, if you've got a Lamar Jackson, if you've got a Derrick Henry, you might want to think about selling, because there's going to come a point in time where they just shut him down. This team has won one game and lost 5. And they're not getting Lamar Jackson back till after the bye. If then. This team could start off 1-8, 1-9. They're not making the playoffs. Even though the AFC still has a lot, is very top heavy, they're going to have enough teams to be able to they should have enough teams to still beat out the Ravens. All right. I'll tell you one thing it does do for Joe Burrow and Cincinnati Bengal fans. Flacco looked pretty good in the second half of that game. If Flacco and the Bengals can figure out a way to put some wins together, they might sneak into the playoffs. And it'll be a hell of a sneaky, but they might sneak into the playoffs. All right, my number 4 team is the Los Angeles Chargers. Number 3 is the Chiefs. They looked very good on Sunday Night Football. I just got caught up to speed. I kept an eye on it to a degree when I was doing the broadcast, but I just got caught up to speed on everything they did and watched the video cut of it. And the Chiefs, to me, continue to find a way every year. They are very, very New England Patriot like, where they'll start off a little like, I don't know, is this team going to be, and you, by the time, remember, they get Rashid Rice back next week. Mahomes had 3 touchdowns last night. Travis Kelce, everybody's ready to pour dirt on him. 78 yards. They will find a way to continue to improve, and that team is far from done. I got to see someone beat them before I'll say, hey, they're beat them in January before I'm convinced that they're not heading back to the Super Bowl. But right now they're number 3 because of the bad start. Number 2, give me the Colts. The Colts continue to find a way to win, and everybody wants to poo-poo it and say, oh, they're not that good, and they barely beat the Cardinals. That Cardinal game, when you knew that was going to be a tough game, that line was horrific. 8.5, are you kidding me? The Cardinals send Jacoby Brissett out there, and the offense looked more manageable. We knew how did you not know that was going to happen? They didn't look dynamic, but Brissett is a game manager. He'll find a way to work his way in and get the W. He fell short, but I watched quite a bit of that game today, and that Cardinals team, they're 2-4, but they might seriously have to think about sitting Kyler Murray for a while, because if Kyler Murray can't scramble, there's no point of putting him out there, because Brissett is a better option. If both of them can't scramble, because obviously Brissett's not a scrambler. He's got a little mobility, but he's not a true scrambler. So if that's even Steven, give me Jacoby Brissett, because a game manager, I can find a way to win with that. We'll talk to Bobby more about that, the Cardinal fan, on Thursday morning when we come to you live right here. The next team is the Buffalo Bills in the AFC. I know they lost to the New England Patriots, and I had the New England Patriots right there on the outside looking in. I just don't think New England, Pittsburgh, or Denver on a neutral field are beating any of the 4 teams I mentioned to you. NFC real quick. Green Bay Packers continue to do what they need to do. They keep plowing ahead. They're my number 14. The Philadelphia Eagles have fallen to number 3 because not only did they get blown out, their gut stomped out against the Giants, who, by the way, keep an eye on them. Yeah, we might talk about this on Thursday, but look at some of the futures for them to possibly sneak in the playoffs. It could happen. The Giants look great with the combination of Cam and Dart. I mean, they look now, it's all going to come down to health, but there's an electricity back in the New York Giants organization. My number 3 team, the Eagles, because once again, And I don't think they're going to win the division, but right now they're number 3. I really don't. If the Cowboys can figure out how to stop anybody, they'll run them down, but if not, it'll be Washington. The Rams are my number 2 team. They're kind of quietly going about their business. They're kind of quietly going out there and getting W's. They got a very boring 17-3 win, but they got that win on the road on the East Coast and West Coast team, and let's get it. Rams, second best team, and on a neutral field, they may even beat everybody, but I've got to give it to Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know how he does it, but Baker Mayfield continues to find ways to win. They're 5-1. He threw for 2 touchdowns, 256 yards yesterday. Beat a sound, though injured, but hell, they've got injuries in Tampa, an injured San Francisco team. And you talk about Detroit, Washington, San Francisco, Seattle. They're all right there. You got to keep an eye on them. But that is my top 4 in the NFC. And then real quick, as the 2-minute warning just hit on me, NFL Power 5. Top to bottom. Give me the Kansas City Chiefs at number 5 because to be the man, you got to beat the man. And unless they absorb another loss in the very near future, they're staying in my top 5. I'm putting the Colts at number 4. And that may sound nuts, but I'm putting the Colts at number 4. Daniel Jones continues to figure a way to move that offense forward, and they're starting to get a rhythm. They really are. The number 3 team is the Rams, because I do believe in the Rams. Right now, if you ask me who's going to go to the Super Bowl, it's the Rams versus the Chiefs. But secondary, give me the Buffalo Bills. They got to kick the door through sometime. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is my number 1. If you gave me 2 tickets to bet right now, I would say Rams and Chiefs in the Super Bowl in 1, Bills and Tampa Bay in the other, and then probably one other combination of those 4. They are the best 4 teams in football, but I put the Colts just above Kansas City because they do have 1 loss compared to 3, and you got to, at some point, wins and losses have to mean something. All right, y'all, going to jam out of here. We will see you tonight. Doubleheader. Doubleheader. Let's get it. And then I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to try to bring in those other doubleheaders later in the week where they're shingling each other across. And great job, MLB. Make sure to compete against yourself. That is a fine decision. Surrounded by idiots. We'll see you.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's closing time, y'all. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Have a great one. On your way out, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to tip your favorite bartender. We'll see you. I'm Mac Magee, signing off for Braves Country Radio.